Hi everyone, this is a very short video speaking about the value of part-time jobs throughout your degree. So I know I always bang on about getting internships, getting placements in sport-specific areas. However, I realize they don't pay the bills if they're unpaid positions. So just want to speak about some of the positions I had from 17 to 25 and how they've shaped me into the person I am now. So these are the four jobs in question I'll speak about very briefly, going from the top left. So Sandwich Brothers was a factory in Leicester. It was a meat factory, and for about 8, 10 hours a day, I'd be on a conveyor belt. Food would come across. I'd put it into a box. That's what I did for 8, 10 hours a day. When I was 19, before I went to university, I worked at Holiday Inn, and here I was a housekeeper. So I'd go in, people left their rooms, I would make the bed, tidy up the room, tidy up the bathroom, all the basic stuff that you do in that position. When I graduated, I still had to earn money, even though I was working in professional sport, very low paid positions. So I still had to find a second job to keep myself afloat. So I worked in the gym, everyone active, and I was a personal trainer and the gym instructor for around about a year. And then when I was 24, 25, at the time I was doing my master's, I worked in Gap. And yeah, really simply working in retail for a year, year and a half, working on the till, all the basic stuff that you do in a retail position. And what I'll do is just quickly outline how these four jobs have helped me throughout the years, how it's built skills that now relate to what I do now. So, firstly, in this job in the factory at 17, I'm on £3.85 an hour. I was getting myself into a routine, becoming a man, I suppose. Um, and yeah, I was getting up at half 4 in the morning. This job started at 6 a.m. So I got myself into a routine. So now if I wake up at half 7, 8 o'clock, that's not really a big deal. I'll go back and think about being in this job. And it was also an eye opener as well on working to my own initiative. You think now, if you're 18, 19, 20, you've been through a school system where a lot of stuff is done for you. And those first couple of jobs you get, you think, oh shit, actually, there's a lot of stuff I have to work out for myself. Maybe you haven't done before. And that's what it was like for me when I was 17 in this position. And also, without looking down at this company, without looking down at this job, I didn't want to be there forever. It was money. And when you're young, you get a few quid, it's good. You've never really had that before. So that was a positive, but I didn't want to be there forever. I didn't want to be in a conveyor belt putting sausages into a tray for the rest of my life. Um, so I went to college about 6 months after that, and I had a huge level of motivation just based on this job. I'd always think to myself, do I want to go back to that? And whenever I had a slow day at college, I'd think about that job and it would motivate me to keep going. Secondly, at Holiday Inn, so I remember I was 19 before I went to university, I was doing this job. It was good for my attention to detail, high standards, working in a hotel, it has to be clean, it has to be tidy. And those sort of standards followed into my sporting career. Now, as a lecturer, there are certain standards that you have to adhere to. Also, worked under time pressure. I was horrendous when I started this job. You had half an hour to clean each room. It took me 40 minutes the first time I did it. But that pressure to be quicker, again, you work in sport, it's high pressure. So I appreciate this isn't your biggest selling point in the CV that you worked Holiday Inn and that relates to sport directly, but there are little things like this that can compare. And finally, it was my first exposure to poor management and a toxic environment. So there'd be a lot of arguments there between staff and the manager, who probably wasn't the nicest person had the pleasure of working for. But that's good. You will have that in some of your part-time jobs. You might not like the boss, but when you go into your dream job, you could have a boss that you're not too keen on, or you could be in a situation where there is conflict in the office. But if you've been in these jobs beforehand, it is good exposure and good practice for when you do go into that job that you really want to do. So working in the gym, this was straight after uni, but during uni, my undergrad degree, all my experience really was with athletes. Never really worked with the general population. You kind of working with the same sort of people each time, but in a gym, every day was different. You'd have someone that would come in, you could have a cancer survivor, you could have someone who's in a wheelchair, someone who'd had a hip replacement. So you have to adapt your training to each person's needs. And also people skills as well. Again, I'm just used to working with athletes, but working with different ages, different ability levels really did help me going forward. And also the ability to sell as well. Not a salesman now, but from selling PT packages, giving people tours around the gym. the ability to sell what's in front of you. It does help me now as a lecturer. There's certain things you have to sell to students to get them engaged in a certain process. So this job definitely did help me in the sort of things that I do now. And lastly, at Gap, conflict. I'm lucky that I work in a job now where there's very little conflict, but if there is a time where it does occur, I think Gap definitely trained me for that. You have a lot of training in customer service, you have a lot of exposure to customers on a weekly basis who aren't very happy with you, or more so the company rather than you personally, but you take the flak. So yeah, for you guys, when you go into your own dream career and there's conflict, these sort of jobs will help you gain that experience, how you deal with that. Also, time management. As I mentioned, I was doing my master's whilst working at Gap. So for me, I found my PhD a lot easier because my PhD was my only job. But before that, a few months prior to that, I was at Gap from 9 till 6, wouldn't get home till 7, still had to do my master's, still had to write stuff up. So that was hectic. That was a stressful time. And as I said, I went to the PhD and it just felt a bit easier. I did 9 to 5 and I could relax in the evenings. And also, again, without looking down at Gap, I made some great friends there, had a lot of laughs working there, but it did give me that desire to go and pursue my career. I'd already worked in sport, I already had my undergraduate degree, so to then go back into Gap, I did find quite difficult. But it fueled me. It made me really think about myself and what I need to do to increase my standards um, to go forward and do what I want to do with my life. So really think about that when you're in your part-time jobs. Ask yourself that: do I really want to go into my dream career? Do I want to stay in this job? For me, it was a huge motivating factor. So final slide, just to summarize there, that these sort of student part-time jobs, they do build skills which are they're relatable. You still need that sport experience to catch the eye of the employer when you graduate. Um, so do try and find that split of the two. But these jobs are still really good and they've definitely shaped me. And also, as I just mentioned a minute ago, they fuel your desire. For me, I was ever slacking at uni, having a day where I was in the library not getting much done. I'd think about the job at the Sandwich Brothers factory. I'd think about the holiday and ask myself, do I really want to go back to that? Or do I keep working and push on and do what I want to do in the future? So my final thing that I'd say is build these core skills, build this motivation, go out there, find some part-time employment. If you are going for a part-time job and you're putting a CV and application together, feel free to send it my way. More than happy to read it. Okay, so that was very, very brief, just speaking there about part-time jobs. If you'd like to discuss it further, you've got the standard ways of getting in touch with me on Twitter and Instagram. Give me a shout and we can chat a bit more about this. All right, thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you again soon.